Okay, welcome back. This is going to be part two. And the reason why I'm doing a part two is because I want this to make some kind of sense. Also, in the first part, I had to cut out some things so I could make sure the storyline went well. And we're going to clear up any plot holes, so to speak, and also extrapolate on a few things, aka going back to what I said about sometimes spirit has step one, then step two, and then step three. All right, so you need to understand one step before you get to another. So the first part was a lot about what were my first steps. I was like figuring stuff out. There's even more behind that, but then we'll be here all damn day. So so here we go. Going back to, I was showing y'all this graph a lot, right? And I added this little section right here because I know that before I explained like -1, +1, both and neither, and I realized I was putting like two different ways of explaining it, merging it together, so to speak. So, okay, so say you were taking an exam and they gave you the questionnaire part. No, yes, all the above, none of the above. Well, that was one of the ways I was explaining the concepts between earth and fire, air, and earth. And the light versus the dark, feminine versus the masculine. So I made this because this makes more sense. Okay, and the reason why I'm saying part one from part two, because in part one, I explained to you that if this was a graph and you were plotting the points, then it would look a certain way. You would be moving up the y-axis or the x-axis by going a certain direction. And I was saying, oh, but 3D is a little more difficult to think of. But the Taoists have like their own way of saying that same graph, but it's not in a graph form. So this is a better way of explaining it. So if you were on the graph and you were at origin here, then if we were plotting points, you would say, oh, I go this way if I'm going towards -1. I'm going this way if I'm going towards the +1. Then I would go up to fire for +1, go down towards air for the -1. And so here again explaining the yin and yang symbol. The whole circle around the circle is what I call the ether. So in this point, it's the point in the middle, but it would be the circle that holds everything. It's the container that holds this whole universe, right? It's infinite, but let's just think of like that's how what connects us all, right? That ether that is surrounding this symbol. And so going back to the idea that fire would be this white part, water would be this black part, earth is the little dot there, and air is the little dot there. And so here I just put other ways of saying that. So the fire is the light masculine. It is a +1, it is the yes. Water is the dark feminine, it's the no, the -1. Air, the dark masculine, none of the above. And earth, light feminine, both, otherwise known as all the above. So now you see why I said if this was like a game, like not a game, but a multiple choice question, then here would be like the feminine, masculine, the both and the neither, or water, earth. I mean, goodness, water, fire, earth, air. All right, okay. So clear that up on my terminology here. So ether, also known as the origin point, the beginning of everything, where we all come from, and we are just the four elements is what's filled in from that. The ether, how I think of it is like if the world was a game, I love to play The Sims. If the world was a game, think of the creator as a person or an entity, right, that created a game, created all the people in the game, and then broke itself up into different points. And into those different points, we got the 4 realms. And each realm controls a different thing. And those are the people who work on the computers. Not the people, keep using this people. One realm is the computer. One realm are the ones who would fix the computer. That kind of thing. There's a realm that's in the computer on the outside. Okay, yeah, that kind of thing. So that's how Spirit was trying to explain it to me, because I had went on this crazy like spiritual download thing. I would get these like spiritual downloads at night. And so one way it explained to me, this is going to be really funny, but I don't know if y'all have seen the Kanye West Love Lockdown music video, but he's in this white room, this all white room. And so how it would explain to me was like my ego, it would say like, okay, your ego is like, say you're sitting at a computer, and the first step is like just seeing your ego as that computer. And then eventually when you figure out that the ego has different facets to it, the computer all of a sudden turned into an android person type thing, like AI, artificial intelligence. And when it did, then it could speak to me. And so understanding that my ego is not me, it is a operating system inside of me. My brain is a computer, right? And I was like, yes, Spirit, come through with the metaphors, right? Okay. So I was like, okay, I'm feeling this. So I'm in the white room, right? I'm in there in this like white room apartment thing. And it's like, so meet your ego. And so I'm like, but it's a computer. It was like the 80s version of the computer. And so showing that as I am growing in my spiritual understanding and my psyche, then the next step is for that computer to become what? AI. And when that AI was created, then that went into like a whole nother scenario about almost like Freud's concept of like the id, the ego, and the super ego. An easier way for people to get that is kind of like, if your head was your ego, you got an angel on one side and the devil on the other side. The id is not the devil, it's really just your inner child. And your super ego is almost like the overzealous spiritual goody two shoes, we should do the right thing. And your ego is like in the middle, like, what do I do? which side do I listen to the super id or the super ego, or do I listen to the id? And so went through like that whole rabbit hole. And months later, it was explained differently. I was going through a lot of spiritual work and stretching and meditating and understanding about the consciousness levels. And so then Spirit was like, let me explain it to you like this. If it's an iceberg, your consciousness is up here, your subconscious is here, and your unconscious is here. So your conscious is your mind, your subconscious is you speak, and so and your soul, and your unconscious is your body. And so when people say we move from 95% of our unconscious, yeah, when you have certain habits or routines that your body is used to, then that's how you normally do things. So when you're ever trying to change something about yourself, that's why it's so difficult, because you're trying to change it through your mind, which is you only move from 5% of your mind, like your body, your unconscious. It was that kind of thing. And so in this sense, your subconscious is stuck in the middle between, do I do what my mind tells me to do? So your soul is actually the one in the middle. And so that's why it makes sense that spiritual leaders will say, instead of thinking about certain things, because even though this is a super badass computer, you have to remember that the computer still is limited in what it can do, because the computer is supposed to make sure that the body don't get hurt. So, and also the computer needs to figure out certain equations, certain things, how we move through the world, like how do you remember directions to get somewhere, blah, 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 until it eventually seeps down into the subconscious, then seeps down to the unconscious. And the reason why this is very important is because when we think of child prodigies, right? There are child prodigies who they wake up, this kid 5, and they just over here doing math equations, or they're writing music as if they've been here before, because they have. And it's all sitting in their unconscious, because the ether talks to us through the unconscious. So it's almost like everyone can get different gifts, spiritual gifts, right? But who answers the call? Things you're just naturally good at. You did it 5 times and you that chick. Versus if you've ever seen seemingly highly intelligent children, almost child prodigy like, who might have had like, oh, my parent is was a chess champion, so then their child is a chess prodigy. You're growing up in a house where someone's teaching it to you, so it's being able to filter down through the conscious to the subconscious, down to the unconscious. And so yeah, you're 10, but you're given the time, resources to spend on that. So when someone says, you know, it takes 10,000 hours to learn a new skill, that's the difference between someone who needs the 10,000 hours versus someone who just did 5 and they just mysteriously know this stuff. And that would go back to like clear cognitive. When you're clear cognitive, you just be knowing stuff. You just be like, oh yeah, duh, blah, blah, blah. And people are like, how you know that though? Trust me, because I was that kid. And I didn't understand that my unconscious was very open to what the ether wanted to tell me. And so sometimes the ether would tell me stuff about people or about things, and I would just be like, oh, so matter of factly, like, duh, how y'all not know that? But it's so much easier as a child to tap into that, because your unconscious is a vast, vast well, and it's because it can hold so many things. So your shadow likes to stay there and rest in there as well. Your shadow can literally go through all the different modes. The consciousness, the subconscious, unconscious. It can go through all the modes, but it likes to rest there. So that's why sometimes there are memories we might not be able to remember, but we're unconsciously holding them in our body. We don't remember anything before the age of 4 because our mind has not developed enough. Because when I took a developmental psychology, like 400 level in college, that's what they were saying. It was you actually cannot make memories before the age of 3 or 4. You actually store your memories in your body instead of in your mind. So that's why if trauma happens to children before those ages, they can never tell you what it was. They can only tell you what they feel. You can be 35 and be like, I feel like some shit happened, but you don't remember it because you were 2, you were 3. So that's that other side. But on the positive side, right, of that child prodigy, that whatever, so your unconscious is able to hold many things. Your unconscious also is your body, so your genetics is in there. So yeah, people in my family have been able to do this. They were really good at this. My ancestors are talking to me through this. But with the shadow, since it can go through all consciousness, it also can hold things that might have never been in your family, right? That kind of same thing. So the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because I know I was like, I'll talk about the shadow later. I'm focusing on the light and dark thing right now. I just wanted to bring up that, yeah, right here, the reason why I put that is because I know that the masculine property rules over the consciousness. The both property rules over the subconscious and the soul, and the feminine property is in your unconsciousness, and then neither is hanging out in the shadow. And so the shadow really deals with like metaphysics. So that's why star seeds and other parallel dimensions and stuff like that, if you have any like, what, right, like it all sits in there. Yeah, so your shadow is all your past situations, right? What you did yesterday, what you did 5 years ago, what you did 10 years ago, and it also can have what generations before you have done. So when you do shadow work, you're technically working on generational curses. You're usually working on shit you did in the past, aka you are no longer that person, or you were never that person. Or if you want to get too wooey with me, sometimes I do believe that we come back through our bloodlines. Well, what am I talking about sometimes? I've been saying that shit since I was 12. Why are we gonna try to lie, girl? Anyways, tell the people the truth. When I was a teenager, or maybe preteen, but yeah, I had my first kind of like thinking of these things and of like in that situation. When I was around 7 or 8 is when I had my first spiritual hit of like knowledge, and that's when I got the whole, oh, out of the mouths of babes, and oh, you're so wise beyond your years. And I didn't understand it, because I used to think like, doesn't everyone know this? Like, duh, like everyone knows this. And then people be like, no, little girl, they don't. And I was just like, oh, my bad. Like, and so I didn't understand that this was a gift. This was a gift from spirit. And so me assuming that everyone can do it is untrue. And I think the way I got it is my mom explained it to me with her math. She was always just naturally good at math, and she used to just assume everyone else was good at math. And then when she realized she wasn't, she would just tutor kids in math. And so for me, I used to always be like, oh, I'm so good at math. And it's because like, oh, because my mom it's in my DNA. It's no spiritual thing, it's just in my DNA. So see how that's like a difference in like, she got it through the ether. What? I got it from like the knowledge of syncing it through, like conscious, subconscious, unconscious, because she keeps telling me this, so then I believe it, therefore I do it, right? So then I just was always really good at math. Like, shoot, I got up to like, the only math I was not very happy with was geometry, and that's because they put too many sentences and words in my math, and I didn't like it. I was like, I know how to do all the angles, and I would do all the work correctly, but then the proofs would be like, is it complementary or supplementary? And I'd be like, what are these words in my math? So then my teacher would be annoyed, like, you put them not in order, the proofs, but you did all the math correctly. I'm like, because the angles are easy. Like, a right angle is 90 degrees. You did that, and the thing was there. It's clearly. Anyways, so... So that's why I would be like, y'all, what are you talking about? Anyways, like, I know what I'm talking about. What y'all doing is extra. And later I was able to understand why they're putting words in my math. And then I finally understood how, when I used to tutor friends in algebra, why they were so pissed about letters in their math. I was like, no, but the letter's just a placeholder, because it's like the unknown. It's the question mark. Like, you don't know what it means. So it's like A plus 3 equals 5. Oh, well, I know 2 plus 3 equals 5. So A must be 2. Algebra's easy. So, so I would just be like, letters are fine, but full on words and sentences, what are we doing? So I was able to be humbled by geometry and be like, oh, now I see why people don't like this. They don't like math because fuck that. Fuck that. Even pre-calculus was better than that. I was like, pre-calculus, I was here. I was like, wow, we're doing great. Oh, okay, well, let's do it. I used to come to class high sometime because I had just started smoking. So I didn't care. I was just like, yes, pre-calc. Anyways, so so that's why I feel like, even in college, I took statistics online. And once a month you would go to the class. It was a hybrid. You would go to class to take the exams. And I got an A. And I hadn't taken math in 3 years, but I had a great freaking tutor. And I would bomb all the homework, do okay on the quizzes, but get an A on every exam. So, and luckily the quizzes and homework were like 50% of my grade, so I didn't have to worry too much about it. So anyways, back to the situation, and maybe that helps me explain why I like to use numbers so much, and why Spirit likes to explain these things to me through numbers, because I have such an affinity for math. So if you're like, I didn't fuck with math, Christine, and I'm really annoyed with you explaining it to me this way, I apologize. I'm going to use other ways, and I'm also going to put it in the most basic of concepts as possible. Okay. Yeah. So speaking of, because I used to joke with my mom like about how they lie to you in elementary school. They give you the number line and they're like, there's nothing past 0, and then later you find out there's negative numbers, and then later you find out there's freaking like fractions and decimal points, and you're like, the lies, I thought there were only whole numbers. And it's like, again, the same way Spirit will be like, yeah, there's just whole numbers. Step 1. Step 2, did you know there's negative numbers? Step 3, did you know there are fractions and decimal points? And you're just like, the lies. No, they weren't lying to you. They just had to give you each concept slowly but surely to help you get to the next point. See? Okay, so here's another way of like a reason why I say that. In chemistry, which I did not like at first, but I was happy that there was math in there so my teacher could explain it to me through math terms. Because otherwise I was like, what? I remember that the periodic table, she was like, you know, it's a cylinder. Get the piece of paper and fold it around. If you had it like this and you fold it around like this, the elements actually go like that. And I was like, oh, so the periodic table is flat, but you're supposed to make it like a globe or a sphere and it will make sense. Who knew? So helpful. And that is why I came up later with this concept of like combining that. The idea that there's only 10 digits in all of math, if you think of it, 0 through 9. Those 10 digits, 0 being that first digit, 9 being the 10th digit. And everything repeats from those digits. So later in chemistry, when they make these kind of things, I almost thought of it like, oh, like you go 0 to 9, to get to 10, you loop back around like that cylinder to get to 10. Here it's 0, 1, but 10 is 1, 0. So it's like, you loop back around. Anyways, and so then you keep looping and you eventually make symbols like the molecules. And okay, so getting back to, I'm a spiritual person. I do tarot. How does this help? Well, in tarot, 5 or numerology, it's all about change and oopsie, what happened? Like, and I was thinking, well, 5 is a halfway point. 1 through 4 is the first 4 digits. 6 through 9 are the next 4 digits. And so 0, 5, and 10, and all zeros and 5s and 10, so 50, 100, 150, whatever, are always half points. And those half points are origin. They are ether. They are the realms. They are a change in direction. Versus living your life is the 1 through the 4. Oh, like it was like, come through, Spirit. Like, so in tarot, when we have like, this is a major arcana, or this is a minor arcana, you'll notice the Tower card is the 15th card for a reason. Like, it's just, anyways, y'all here with me. Okay. And And so in numerology, the idea of fives being that change is because you're going from that 0, 10, 0 and 10, as I just told you, are the same thing. That is 0 and 10, and when they come back around, it's a little thing. So what's in the middle is 5. Because we're about to do this circular stuff here. So that checkpoint, that origin, that ether, that creator mode is very powerful energy. So that's why whenever you see 111 and all that stuff, it's the beginning of something, awakening of something, or a remembering of something. So when you get to 5, there might be a change or here's the next step. That was step 1. 5 is here to tell you we're on step 2. 10 is here to tell you we're on step 3. 15 is going to be here to tell you we're on step 4. 20 is going to tell you we're on step. You know what I mean? It's the steps. Like, you about to learn some new shit. That means you're going to have to let go of some other old shit to get some new information. What's up? So that's why I really like how Spirit would explain to me through the numbers, basically. And I'm going to explain a different way that doesn't have to do with numbers in quite a second. Okay. But before I do that, recap. Back to when I talked about when you're plotting, again, because, I'm doing this through math. If you were plotting things, the directions you go here, if you were going towards the fire or towards the water or whatever, those are the directions you go to. That was one of my, I'm on 2 before the next step is coming. And so when the next step came, it was explaining to me, but just because when you go down for air or whatever, those are the number of points of just the direction of how you find the points. But when it comes to the 4 realms, my friend, and the 4 realms, how it first was explained to me was the God realm, the goddess realm, the both realm, and the neither realm. And I kept being like, these are the 4 realms. Okay. And so then what's 5D energy? Origin point 0, 5, 10. 0, 5, 10. 0, 5, 10. That's ether, that's the creator of all. And so because the creator of all broke itself into 4 points, that idea of you make the Sims and you want to be in the game. Well, if the creator wants to be in the game, someone needs to be making sure that the game don't shut off. So the goddess realm and the God realm had to create the neither and the both realm situation kind of thing, and it kept trying to explain to me like either they created it or source itself just broke itself into 4 pieces, or is it source broke itself into 2 pieces, from those 2 pieces it became 4 pieces. That was the part that I kept being like, I'm confused, I don't, Spirit, come back. I don't know what's happening. But later it came back with, this is how the 4 realms look. And so, see, I color coordinated for y'all here. Okay. So going back to water being the dark feminine, because the feminates in the blue here are on this side. The masculines are on this side. But the dark is down here and the light is up here. And so that's why Earth is the light feminine. And water is the dark feminine, and air is the dark masculine, and fire is the light masculine. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. And I don't know if y'all saw the Nutcracker, the newest Nutcracker movie, but it's called the Nutcracker in the 4 realms. I'm telling you, there's spiritual messages in that movie. There's spiritual messages. We need to talk about that, okay? Spiritual messages. I hadn't felt so hard about that since Avatar Last Airbender, and Avatar Last Airbender is telling you the secrets of the universe. I'm just saying, just because if you think of in Avatar Last Airbender, how you have the 4 air, the airbenders and the firebenders and the waterbenders and the earthbenders, right? So that's why I was, was like, oh man, both of these things are trying to explain this concept. I love it. And so we all have the 4 elements within us, though. That's the part. And so in Avatar, there's only one avatar, and the one avatar can do what? All 4 bending styles, because the avatar is the embodiment of creator energy, of ether energy, of being able to do all 4, which means you are the 5D. What's up? So if you see yourself as an avatar in this earth, it's because we no longer only have one avatar. There are multiple avatars out here. There's just a smaller number of them, and they are rare, but they out here, okay? And even though we all have the 4 elements in our way inside of us, and we're always using them, if you think of it as, but there's some people who can bend, right? And so some people might call themselves witches, the fae, angels, starseeds, whatever, but it is still Spirit trying to explain it to you in a way that you will understand it. Because I used to always say, God has his angels, but the goddess have the fae. And so when I tell people I am faequeen, it's because I am someone who is very deeply rooted in the goddess realm. And so I don't hate on people who consciousness is still in the God realm. Because that's where we have Christ consciousness and angels and things like that. And I believe in angels. I just don't think they are the last stop. See, a lot of times when it comes to like the Bible and things like that, it's like there's complete truth to all of that. And it has a lot to do with the God realm, though. But what people don't understand is it's only one piece. The God realm is only one of the 4 realms. And so I was here. I remember me and my mom talking about this when I was a child, that I was like, how I came to her one day was like, I'm here to raise like the lady energy or something. I said like something dumb like that. You know what I mean? Because you're like a little kid, you know, you're just like, I'm just here to the lady energy. And I didn't get that it was the goddess realm that was constantly coming to me, right? And so in the goddess realm, there are the fae. And the fae are different types of magical beings that we've all heard of. And a lot of times when I hear people talk about star seeds and like certain planets, I'll be like, you know, it's like, it's a whole overlapping thing. And so I just think it's kind of funny if you look at that. You can see that. But I don't know that much about the both realm and the neither realm, and I refuse to name them at this time because I don't think that I am on that part of my spiritual journey to be able to classify and name them for you, right? But they are there and I understand them as important entities. And because how I used to think of the neither realm is like where actually star seeds, the void is, and artificial intelligence. Once we do have AI, they would be from the neither realm. Think about it. Transformers, the movie, they're robots who are also aliens. So they're AI. So they're aliens who are also artificial intelligence. What the? Come on, neither realm. You know, so that's why I would kind of be like, what? And then if you think of both, that's where we are right now. The earth, like earth. And earth isn't just earth, y'all. This cup. This camera that is filming me is earth because it's material. Again, Avatar Last Airbender. When Toph was able to bend metal, come through. Like, come through. Metal bending, when she invented it. Okay, anyways, I was just, So earth is all tangible. What's up? Even these meat suits, earth. So that's when I was like, okay. So different realms rule over different things. I get it. And And so the goddess realm and the aka what I would call the water, so it would be water or goddess, think of it like that, and the earth is that both, and air is the void, space, so we trying to go out in space and meet somebody. And also fire would be the God realm. And so we've been in this understanding what the God realm is, understanding what God is supposed to explain to us and help us through certain things in spirituality, but it's not the only one. So it's not like it's not wait, don't double contradict yourself. There you go. I'm not saying that we don't need the principles that we learn from God. I'm saying it's not the only voice. It's just another part of the puzzle. And so that's why I can be so cool with people who are Jewish or Christian or Muslim or something like that, right? Part of the Abrahamic religions, because they're all praying to the same God. They're just fighting over prophets. Jewish people are like, oh, there was no Messiah. Christians are like, yes, it was Jesus. And then Muslims are like, yeah, we had Jesus, but there also was a dude named Muhammad. But aren't you all praying to the same God? You just fighting over prophets. Okay, never mind. I'm gonna be quiet. Okay, I'm over here. You know. So that's why, I gotta keep that to myself. Because I don't want nobody to come for me. But I'm like, all y'all important. All three of y'all. All your perspectives. Because even within those perspectives are further perspectives, Judaism, I think, has like 3 sects or more. And then Christianity has so freaking many. I mean, someone's Episcopalian, someone else, they're just like Baptist, right? Catholic, Protestant, all that. But then you get, and then I think there's like, it's like maybe 8 or 11 Muslim sects, yeah. So that, and then there's not just them, we have Buddhism, we have Hinduism, we have all kinds of different religions, one of the originals, pagans, all that fun stuff. So different religions have different puzzles to the pieces, because they're probably there were people who were vessels like myself who get the information and explains it in the best way they can possible. And they're getting information from different realms. So say like pagans were getting a lot of information from the goddess realm and the both realm. And so that's why it has a lot of stuff about like goddesses, but then also about earth and blah, blah, blah. And there's a lot of people who are witches who really like gravitate towards that, right? Like, it's like that kind of thing. Now, if you're a person, because I was like, let me leave with like one example that is not math related, because I know people will be like, what is math? When going back to why the number line and putting it in this kind of way, or even through yin and yang, is a helpful expansion, seeing that it's not just a piece, right? It's something much bigger than that. If you looked at this Kinsey scale, I love Kinsey. The Kinsey scale has it where if you straight to gay, straight is 0, 6 gay as fuck, and bi and pan would be like a 3 equal. And then if you're kind of like, I'm bi, but I lean more towards it that way, or I'm pan, or I lean more towards that way, you're probably going to be in this section. And so most people's sexualities, flowed in one of those places. Well, then later, when I said in my first video, but we forgot about asexual, that's actually what I meant by that. When you put it this way in the graph, so you're not thinking limited, you're not thinking linear, you're understanding that this is a monosexual line, okay? This is straight, this is, gay and lesbian. So then the both, so like the yes, the no, the -1, the +1, however you want to think of it. But then we have the both up here with bi and pan. And then down here we have the neither, which would be asexual. And so when you take a number line, 1, and then you put it like that, and then you put them together, you make that T line. And so aka that's how expansion works. And then later I showed you how, you know, my other step later was like, yeah, you have that, but then you can take this and then make it 4 different times, right? And then make this like 4, 4, 4, 4, and that's 16, and it's like a whole nother thing, right? Okay. So again, it's that step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, you know, just keep building upon, keep building upon, keep building upon. And so I wanted to be able to explain that that's why as people, when we try to figure out where we are a lot of times in a certain realm at a certain time, or even certain situations, you can be like, oh, well, this person is plotted right there. Another person is going to be here. Someone else is going to be more for here. Some people over here. Someone's right here. Someone's real close to that. Like, they're just like, I don't, like, and then someone's like, oh, no, and it's somebody right there. Someone else is like right there. These are all different people. We're all in the world together. We're all in this world together. And we all gotta live in this world together, even though we're different points on this plot. But that's why we're all so important, because again, we are all fragments. But when you put us all together, we are every freaking dot on this graph. This is how we're connected. This is why everyone is important. Every single last person, thing, entity, whatever, we all are important because we all have a piece. When I did theater as a child, they said there are no small roles. Okay? It's a reason. There are no small roles. Okay, Siren. Okay. Someone said too much truth. She said too much truth. Like, damn. Okay. Oh, it's so nice I got hair so I can flip, because I used to do the air flip and it would get lost on people. Now I can actually hair flip. What's up? Okay, so I'm about to leave us out on, I didn't want to forget about this. When I talked about this part and I was saying about the light feminine and the masculine and all that other stuff, there are some principles that I wrote down and I was just like, oh my gosh, this looks so important to bring up. But the light feminine reminds me of like when I was a little girl and I used to watch Xena. For our new people, like Brave would be like another good one, but the warrior princess energy, because the light is youth, associated with youth a lot. So a light feminine would be like a warrior princess, and a light masculine would be like the boy wonder, Peter Pan, the youthful boy. And then we have the dark feminine, the wise woman, the medicine woman, the Madonna, and the whore. Not or, baby, both. Because the goddess realm, femininity, water, is all about contradictions. So the wise woman is wise. Why? Because she has been the Madonna and the whore. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. Then we have the dark masculine, the sage, grandfather time, the wise old man. The reason why this is important, because a lot of people know, you're on here, I'll talk a lot about I'm a Scorpio and I'll be around all these fucking Aquariuses. And the reason why is because that's how I see us, as Scorpio, wise woman. Aquarius, other air signs, the wise old man. And because we have the dark that influences, the dark just means the unknown. There are just some things we're never supposed to know. So I can tell you all this information that I know, but there's still things I don't know. There are certain things that I don't even know why I know it, but I know it. Contradictory. The dark. Okay. Is also part of that as well, right? That kind of like, what do you mean? Like, you do know, but you don't know? You're nothing and you're everything? What does that mean? But it does have to go with that same energy. So I just wanted to also add that part, and how when we think of something being healthy versus toxic or something like that, Again, when I go to, you have this, but you can have another one, and you can have the other one. It's the 16. Or it even looks like the molecule or the cell that I made the other day, these kind of molecules. There's an episode in Charmed where the Charmed sisters meet their evil twins that are in a parallel universe. And so almost like the idea that like sometimes your shadow could be talking to you and it's a parallel universe. It's literally your evil twin talking to you. I know, like, what did she just say? I said what I said. And then there's, you know, the both and neithers, and they have their own things that they do too, and I don't need to get too much into that. But that idea of all of us have these principles inside of us. It's just that certain people's magical abilities is because you have tapped into maybe a particular realm, or maybe you might be one of the special avatars that can tap into all four. So for me, I kept being told you are God and goddess, and I was like, what does that mean? It's like, because you are getting messages from the God and the goddess realm. You are the fairy and the angel. And it was like, what is that? What's the fairy and the angel? It's like, and I kept telling people I'm double winged. I always had one set of wings, but this last spiritual awakening was to get my other set of wings. Because I always had my fae wings, but I was gaining my angel wings. And so I know that I get messages from the God and the goddess realm. And so I put this out to people because there are people out here who can tap into the neither and the both realm. And I want to tell you, you are so important. From the goddess realm, we are trying to tell you, we know that your time is coming. Do not think you are crazy. You are onto something. We got to send this message out to you. Okay? So the ether keeps letting me know that I have direct lines of communication to those two realms in particular, but technically the other two realms, the both and the neither, do come to me whenever they need me to like source out where those other, like, hey, you are a clear vessel though for the both, or you're a clear vessel, vessel for the neither. You need to say stuff because we need to hear it. Because my capacity can only handle so much. And if I am supposed to be an avatar, again, I gotta take my time. Just like Aang and just like Korra, you gotta take time learning each element and how to bend it. We'll just say it like that. So, yeah, actually with Korra, she actually is a water element. So my, story would be more like that in that sense, where it's like, yeah, I was born with the water element. I was born talking to the goddess realm. Now I'm talking to the god realm, I'm talking to the fire. And fire is important because, again, going to Avatar, fire, electricity, it comes down. That's how we have it. We have stories about Prometheus bringing fire to mankind. It's a reason. I talked about the plasma before, versus which was fire using water properties, versus in that same show when water uses fire properties, it was blood bending. And so you have to watch control of others. So there are certain spiritual lessons that I had to go through to undo a lot of old programming and understand, where I was right in certain actions and where certain actions need to have growth and be built upon. Yeah, so is that everything? I got this little piece of paper. Oh, and then last time I also talked about Mercury and air. And Mercury is ruled by Gemini and Sag. Again, Gemini is an air sign, Sag is a fire sign, so they're masculine signs. But one's a light masculine and one's a dark masculine for a reason. So Mercury, the way we speak, how we think of how we're going to speak, that kind of thing, that is the connecting us all together. The messenger energy, I think, is very important coming up. So just understand, this is like the time to understand that we are getting messages. We are getting messages. Heed my warning. Listen to those messages. Okay. Is there anything else? Spirit, what's up? I don't think so. And if so, I will make another video. Oh shit. Never mind. Last one. This is very, 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 very important. The reason why I had to say the difference between the dark and the shadow is because a lot of times people think that evil entities or demon entities only hang out in the dark or the shadows, right? Not true. There are light demons as well. So understand that when you're integrating your light and your dark, understand that evil does not care. Evil can be light or dark. There are light demons just like there are shadow warriors. You know what I mean? A shadow warrior is a very positive thing. People who are shadow warriors are out here, right? Like as a Scorpio, I remember one time I had heard this phrase like, we can glow in the dark. And I remember one day I just woke up out of like a deep ass sleep and had to Google everything I knew about scorpions, the actual scorpion, right? So we found out that scorpions do glow in the dark. If you take ultraviolet light, they glow. And then also we can take scorpion venom and maybe be able to use that in the future for surgeries as a paralytic, and it would actually be healthier than a lot of the numbing agents that we use now, because it uses different receptors in our body. I was like, what? This is so cool, right? Like scorpions on that next level shit. Also, scorpions are like the honey badgers of insects. Even though they're the cousin of the spider, they ass will eat a spider. Like they don't give a fuck. And also, they live the longest. A scorpion can live like 20 years, like just dumb numbers. But most insects die after a few months, and or tops 3 or 4 or 5 years. Scorpions be like, I shall never die. Right? And so if you understand like Scorpio energy, that's why we were named after that. It's like, it's the, I glow in the dark. I am the light in the darkness. When you go to that deep part of the ocean and there's those fish that are scary as fuck, but they're beautiful because they make all these pretty lights because the sunlight can't get that far down in the ocean. That again is still like that Scorpio energy, right? Like we are the light within the dark. Like we can see in the dark. And so that's what makes us great shadow warriors, because if there are any shadow demons, we will be out there to get their ass, right? So that's why I think the reason why I talk a lot about Aquarius is because they can fight light demons, and be a light warriors. Do you see what I'm saying? So understand that evil demonic shit is from other parallel universes trying to come into our universe. Do not fucking let them. What's up? Do not fucking let them. Hello. They trying to come into our place. Did you ever see Fringe? Parallel universes are not supposed to merge, okay? They not. I'm just gonna keep using TV shows to explain this. It's really helpful, okay? So yeah, so that was actually the last of it, the last message for now. And damn, this is super fucking long, but if you got this far, thank you, because that means you understand what the fuck is going on. Okay, I love you. I love me. I love us. I love we. I'll see you soon.